And if they pass, then they become master trainers and they can go back to wherever they're from and they certify other people. So we actually got everything documented now, and we've got about 25, 26 trainers from 11 different countries now. So it's pretty cool. We've got people who come around the world to come and train with me and learn these methods so that they can teach them correctly. Because there's a lot of misconceptions about my training from the magazines. The first thing is, used to call it the Dorian Yates one-set training. Like, as if I just do one set per exercise. That's a bit misleading because I did pretty much refine it down so that I could do one set per exercise to failure. The last set where we go right to failure. And if you do that correctly, I don't believe there's a reason to do another set after that. But to get to that point, obviously you've got to warm up. You're going to go in the gym and start maxing out with 500 pounds on a squat or something without warming up. So you've got to warm up a little bit, but not unnecessarily. So to give you an instance, I'll just choose chest training as an example. I usually start with a low decline. Not a big fan of the flat bench press, although, it's the number one exercise everyone knows in the gym, and how much can you bench and all that stuff. And I did bench earlier on in my career. But one thing I learned from Arthur Jones was the muscle function and the range of motion and so on. The pecs is to bring the upper arm down and across the body. So bench press does that somewhat, but if you just tilt it to a slight decline, then your upper arm is coming down and across the chest more, and it takes the strain off this pec delt tendon area. If you know anyone that's had a pec tear, 99 times out of 100 it's on the flat bench press. So it carries a risk, and I don't think it's the best chest exercise out there unless you're particularly suited to it. So I usually start with a decline press. I would do one set fairly light, and as a guideline in my training manual, if you can figure out what you're going to max with, I don't mean max for one rep because that's useless for bodybuilding. It's even useless for powerlifting. It's only at a powerlifting meet you do one rep. 6 to 8 reps. Figure out what you're going to do for that, more or less, and then go 50% of that. So if you're doing 300 pounds on the bench, you want to be warming up with around 50%, so like 150, and then around 70%, whatever that is, 210, and then the last set, you're nice and warm, everything's firing, and then you can go to failure. So that will be 3 sets, and once you've done that set to real failure, I'm talking about controlling the negative, slowing it down, more explosive on the upward movement, and then you've got a spotter there to make sure you go to failure and just past failure, maybe 1 or 2 forced reps. You've got to be able to handle the weight yourself and do it correctly. And when we're talking about bodybuilding, again, listening to Bill yesterday, I was keeping in mind that it's totally different, bodybuilding and powerlifting or weightlifting. Weightlifting or powerlifting, your job is to get the weight from A to B. That's your job. So you arch your back, shorten the movement, have a wider grip, use momentum, whatever it takes to get the weight up. Whereas bodybuilding, you just have to think as that weight as a tool to put maximum stress on the muscles that you work in this case will be the pecs. So that'll be the first exercise, 3 sets. Second exercise, probably move to a low incline, and the pecs, the delts, the triceps, all the muscles involved are now warmed up from the first exercise, very warm. So it's not necessary to run through the 3 sets. I just go to the second set, or 70%, or the medium set, if you like. Do a warm-up with that, and then go to the max set. Third exercise, probably a dumbbell movement. I like to do dumbbell flies. So again, changing the angle, changing the movement a little bit, so necessary to warm up. 1 set to warm up and 1 set to failure. So it pretty much sounds like nothing, right? 3 sets of bench, 2 sets of incline, 2 sets of flies. Write that down on a piece of paper. It doesn't look very impressive, but if you do it really properly, your pecs are going to be exhausted, and it's not necessary to do any more. So there's just an instance of a body part. I think we've got a brave lady somewhere who's a volunteer.